Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hobby Dude 007 channel. Part 2 of our Barracuda build. Today we're going to look at a couple of problems I encountered during test fitting and a solution for them, as well as we'll take a look at the 318 engine swap and the progress on our 164th. Stick around. Up first, let's take a look at our 1/64th scale Barracuda. Dropped it in the stripper, got it all brushed down to the metal, and I found a mold line. I didn't realize that these things have, you may see it right there, I've got it marked, a mold seam there. But it cleaned up very nicely. I took a file, cleaned up around inside the windows a little bit, and it's ready for some, I think, a little sanding and some putty right there, and then we'll get that cleaned up. Also, Amanda's car had a flat hood, didn't have these, I guess those are air intakes, or it may just be some body molding. But anyway, we're going to take those off. Windshield, really clear. There's no distortion in it. Looks really, really nice. The interior I was really impressed with. Same console as hers. The steering wheel had a seam line in it, so I sanded that out a little bit. And this is ready for some primer. The chassis itself, I'm going to add some body color to the gravel pans in the front and back. Other than that, this chrome is really to scale, and I'm very impressed with it. It really looks good. And then for the wheels, I think I'm just going to, they'll have an aluminum cast look to them. I may do like Amanda's had, the chrome ring around it. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these yet, but they really, really look good. Well, let me show you what we've done so far. Here's our Barracuda body in 1/64th scale, primered. I put a layer of Duplicolor automotive primer sealer down first, then did an 800 water sand, another coat, then went to a 1000 water sand, and that's what's on it now. I'm gonna go ahead and sand this one more time, just lightly. Then we'll go back with the ultra fine primer from Tamiya and probably do 1500 or 2000 very, very lightly, and then we'll be ready for some color. But note where those body moldings or humps were on the hood, nice and flat now. Those came off very nicely. A little bit of filler just took care of that big time, but the body is pretty smooth. But of course the key to a really good paint job is how smooth you can get that surface underneath. Also, the interior, I went ahead and primed it, and it's looking really good. It's ready for color. I think I'll be probably painting this when I do the 1/25th interior. The only thing I'm thinking about doing is cutting that steering wheel off. I've got some, I think it's HO or N scale, they're not really gears, but it's some model railroad stuff, and I'm thinking about replacing that steering wheel with one of those gears with the teeth removed, but I'm not sure yet what I'll do. But like I said before, the interior is very impressive. The pattern is right. I mean, this thing is really, really cool. Well, that's where we stand right now on our 1/64th. Let's take a look at a few problems I encountered on the 1/25th. In part one, I mentioned we were going to use a number of the parts out of the kit. After doing some test fitting, and it's not because of the resin body, it's just this kit. Now, I have never had a common frame of reference as far as this kit's concerned because I've never built it. But I didn't realize the fit was so atrocious. But before I get into the body fit and all of that stuff, I did want to switch out the engine. It comes with a 383, which is really big, and I needed a 318, which you can see. Now, this is out of a Duster. This is a 340, but it better represents that 318 as far as the size goes. You can see huge difference from that 383 down to the 318. Now, I've gone ahead and primed both of them, but this is going to be the one I'm using. And going to have to make a little bit of modification to the tail shaft of the transmission for fit, but that's not really a big deal. Also going to be using a parts by parts pre-wired distributor kit. Usually I drill out my own distributors and make them, but this one I'm going to go a little bit different. I've used parts by parts before, really good stuff. They're spun aluminum. These distributor kits, really good. And of course, I think I mentioned before, we're going to be using the Chrysler engine blue for the 318, which is accurate. Now, let's get over to that body. Well, here's where we came into some problems when I was doing some test fitting. First of all, the hood fit great, as you can see, nice, level, good fit. No issues there. But when I started doing some test fitting, and this is why it's important always to do test fitting, otherwise you can get way into the kit, which I have done, and discover that you're going to have to grind or cut or make some changes. On the fit of the interior, if you'll notice, when it's fit nice on the passenger side there's a gap, and I'm hoping you can see that, right down through here on the driver's side. That's really an easy fix if you ever encounter that. I had that with a AMT 40 Ford Coupe a while back, and all we need to do is take a little evergreen or plastruct and just glue it right along here on both sides, and it'll give you a good tight fit, and you'll just sand and smooth it right here, and it gives you a little extra place if you want to put the door lock button in. But here's where we really encountered a problem. Put the interior in, and then put the kit chassis that we were going to use, and as I said, I have never built this particular Barracuda, so I wasn't sure what I was getting into. Now, the wheelbase, everything looks good, But for me, this is unacceptable. You see the gap here between the fender and the inside fender well. That is just, wow, not good. Same thing on the other side. You've just got this huge gap. And while I put the firewall and the mocked up the radiator, and the huge gap everywhere. And so that's not working for me anyway. So I started playing around with a few things, and I came up with a duster. By the way, a lot of people might think that's just that resin body that's that way, but let me just grab the actual kit, the original stock kit that this goes with, and as you can see, it's exactly the same way. You've got this enormous gap on both sides there. So it's just, and I know it's an old mold, but it's not going to work for me anyway. So I took a duster chassis, which has got a little more detail on it than the original anyway. And you've got much more realistic fender wells. Now I am going to have to do some cleanup here on this yet. But as you see, oops, the wheelbase is right on. So the wheelbase is not going to have to be moved. And we've got a nice fit on the inside of the fenders. So we've got some nice fender wells, much more realistic on this one as well anyway. And we'll do a little work on that. And the only thing that I'm going to have to do with the interior is this lug down here was built into the original kit for, here we go, the fold-down seat that was in the fastback had that deep well right back there. Well, we don't need that with the coupe, but because this tub was based off of that, it is molded in back here, and it's pretty heavy back there. That's a lot of extra. So I'm just going to take and grind all that off. And based on what I've measured on the Duster chassis so far, everything is going to, it's going to be just right, because the fit's going to be right in here, and that should take care of that. And we're going to have a much better looking engine bay as well. Like I said, I'm going to have to do on the tail shaft of the transmission a little work, but that little 318 looks so much better sitting in there. So there's not really a problem. When you're a modeler, you improvise sometimes, kit bash a little bit. That's the fun of it. But I think this is going to turn out really good. I'm going to have to go ahead and do some sanding in some spots and get it prepped and cleaned up and primed. I've already got those little pinholes I was mentioning that are on the inside of the body. I've got those straightened out. I've got a little bit more sanding right in here to do along this edge of the window. Not very much at all. It's actually, as you can see, you really can't see it from the outside, but I want to go ahead and take that off for my own satisfaction, so to speak. And other than that, everything fits really nicely. We're going to go ahead and I usually, when I'm dealing with resin, any resin part, I like to wash them after I get them prepped and just lightly sanded. I like to get them into some, for that mold release, get them into some warm soapy water, just or tepid water, with some Dawn dishwashing, a degreaser, and then I dry them off really good, and then I put them in some Wesley's bleach white for a few hours, and that really preps it up real good, and then we'll get some primer on it. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in part 3.